Aneurism 4.
Yes.
Aneurism 4 is basically just gmod dark RP if they didn't have any admins to stop you from doing stupid shit. Now, when you first start your journey into the great and amazing city of Aneurism 4, you're going to start out naked, afraid, a skeleton, and also in a sort of limbo hell world. Now, when you start this world, you're going to notice that there are a lot of ghosts around you that are scratching at their head frantically and don't really have a use aside from the fact that they're big and red and tell you how much amnesite you need to be able to use them. So, amnesite is basically this game's version of a permanent currency. This currency is used to purchase classes, and for right now you don't have any currency, so you're forced to start out with the prole, the sort of wage cuck class of the whole game and city itself. You are a shortened version of the word proletariat. You're basically just a wage cuck. You go around, do some odd jobs, and make some fucking money. Now, with these ob jobs, you're given around, I believe, 5 or 6 different ob jobs that you can choose from, but I personally like to go with 2 personally, which I will go into later. But first, you're going to start off with the metalworks, as it's the one that most often people will start with. The metalworks is one of the more changed ones from past updates. It used to originally be a sort of smelting and forging area where you would smelt ore ingots and you would turn them into small little metal ingots instead of just slamming them together with hammers like a caveman. Now, with this, they have changed it and have instead shown off these giant walls that are basically just covered in just metal and get really fucking hot and then allow you to hit them. With this, now you go into the quarry, ask the man on the left for the pipe. You'll see a little like shop area. He'll be huffing out green gas. And after you're done with that, go to the quarry, start hitting up some rocks, black rocks for coal, and rusted orange rocks for metal. You'll need about 6 pieces of coal, at least that's my personal number. You'll need 5 to get it running, but 6 pieces of coal gives you enough to hold in your pants, and also enough to keep it running for a long period of time. Now with this, you are also able to, I wouldn't necessarily say make money, but you do make quite a bit of money, and you also make a bit of andesite as well, about 20% every single time you finish one game. So with this, you begin to head over to the metalsmithing works facility over there, drop some coal in there. After you drop the coal in there, you'll wait till it starts being absolutely hot red and sparking, and then after it gets absolutely hot red and sparking, you drop your metal ingots on there, and you just start whamming at it with a pipe. Eventually it'll turn into a metal ingot, drop it into the trough of water next to you, and then after it cools down, put it in your inventory because people can't steal your shit from you, and then immediately drop it into the crate, and then when it's full, sign it off with your name, and then sell it off. Gives you a lot of andesite at quite a few amount of money, which we'll get into the pay cycle later on when we talk about mechanics in the game. Now, the second job that most people start out with is the dirty laundry, as this is the one that most people will tell you to start out with, as it gives you the least amount of money and amnesite for the least amount of effort. So, obviously you're going to be like, I might as well do it. So, dirty laundry starts you out in a small little area, which, is just a laundry mat. As you step inside, you'll notice a giant little area in the back with a lever. As you pull down this lever, dirty clothes will fall from the sky and then give you free money, basically. So you'll want to put the dirty clothing in the washing machine, and then after it finishes, and by the way, never stop the wash, you'll be able to drop into the drying machine, which you cannot stop the dry. After you get both of these out, you drop it onto the little marble table in the middle of the room, fold it, and then throw it into the laundromat, and then or the little hamper. Then after that, you'll earn some money and some amnesite. It's pretty easy. Also, you will notice that there is a like smoke alarm beeping. I at first thought this was somebody else with their microphone on and just actually not changing the batteries in their smoke alarm. This is a real thing in game, and it's also in a bunch of other places, I believe in pretty much every major area, and the only way to fix that is to have a cleaner come up and start hitting it with a wrench. So if you start hearing that and it genuinely is getting on your nerves, go find a cleaner and he'll fix it up for you, since he makes money and amnesite that way. So now, the work that people typically don't go for is the ration factory, and that's mostly just because the ration factory is really fucking confusing if you don't understand anything at all before being explained how to actually do the ration factory. As by the way, none of these are explained. You have to do this all on your own. So, the ration factory is a bit weird as it's incredibly different from literally every other part of the game. So, you start out with the pipe that you get from the metalworks. You go to the lake and you start hitting little bubbles of air trying to find fish and not leeches. However, you can sell these to the doctors if you want to for free money, basically. So just go down to the dock, start hitting, grab some fish. You can also use any other meat substitute, such as suspicious meat or any other food at all, actually. Anything edible you can just throw right in there, except for cancer pods. You cannot throw cancer pods in there, and you also can't throw leeches in there, just because, you know, bad in the food supply. So after you do that, you throw that into the big meat grinder, and after there is enough for consumption, you're going to want to go to the little area, the little podium right next to it that you sort of see little computers and numbers and stuff. So this one is a little bit weird, as this is like true math, quote unquote, instead of the normal math that you'd see, which would be like 0 minus 7 would just be 7. It would be 0 minus 7 is minus 7. So it'd be 0 down all the way to negative 7. So you'll have to count down with how many negatives you have. You always start at 0, so that's an okay thing. So you'll start out at 0, then you have to count out the amount of beeps that happen, and then you'll get the correct number, and if you don't, you'll actually lose amnesite and take damage. However, when you finish something, it gives you about 10 amnesite, and it gives you about 10 questions per monitor, so that's basically 1 amnesite per monitor, so it's actually pretty fucking amazing. This is a good shop after you learn how to actually deal with this job. So I'd say personally, this is an incredibly important shop, as well as this is the only way you can make rations in this game, which rations will be talked about later. Now, the fourth job is the distillery. The distillery is another thing that really isn't explained well, but this is the most lucrative option for money making, less so than amnesite. So first you're going to want to go to the actual distillery itself and check the shipping log and see which ones they actually want. I believe it is corn for moonshine, potatoes for vodka, and grapes for wine. You're going to want to see which ones they want exactly, and then Moonchild will be the moonshine, the vodka will be the vodka, and then the wines will be the grapes. So you're going to want to grab as much of each you can, and then just start throwing it directly into this giant distillery right here. After you finish up the giant distillery, you're going to want to throw it all in there, and then you're going to want to check the temperature by turning it on and then checking the temperature. After you check the temperature, you want to make sure it stays in the sweet spot of 100 to 150. Don't let it get to 150 as it'll blow up, but make sure you keep it in that sweet spot, as that is when the actual drinks are actually being distilled and put into bottles. You can then put the bottles into the little area over there in the shipping log, and then after it's full, make sure you sign your name and then drop it in there. After you do that, you can also keep a lot of the alcohol and sell it to people, as it is one of the few ways to restore sanity. Sanity in this game will be explained a lot later on, but just know it's incredibly important. So with this, you're basically just able to make a bunch of money, as you can sell it and also sell it as well through the actual, you know, shipping log and everything.
Heal him or die, motherfucker! Heal them! What? Go heal that fucking zealot right now! Go heal the zealot!
Yo, let me see.
You're the one that said
I'm
I just
losing.
came
When it
back.
rots, I'm gonna kill everybody in here.
Unfortunately.
Now, this final job and the fifth job will be an explanation of both a game function and also a job itself. So, this is wartime, which you'll be able to tell by the giant blaring sirens, war propaganda, and also a giant just bomb on your screen. So, with this, It is wartime. That means bombs are going to be dropped onto the city, and you're going to want to find shelter in the wartime factory. Now, this wartime factory is the most lucrative way to make money and amnesite, as it only shows up every, I believe, 45 minutes? I might be wrong on that, though. It was just the way that I counted it down, and I might be wrong. Anyways, your job here is to make bombs. Lots of bombs. So, as you enter, you are going to see a large area in front of you. This large area in front of you has a man in the middle, a small little area off to the side, and then the left side where you actually build the bombs itself. First thing you're going to want to do, talk to the shopkeep. He gives you a free screwdriver, which you're going to need to actually build the thing itself. Please do not hit it with a pipe, as for the love of God, it doesn't fucking do anything, and you aren't even making any amnesite by doing that. You are literally just wasting time, money, and likely going to hit your teammate with a fucking pipe on the head. So please, for the love of God, grab the screwdriver. Anyways, on the right side, you're going to find the actual areas itself that you need the shit. On the far right, top right, you're going to actually find the casing itself. This is the first thing you will need. You'll drop it onto the marble table, hit it a couple times till you reach 100%, and then you're going to go grab the detonator. The detonator will be on the bottom left of the right side, and then you are going to go and grab it, bring it back to the casing, put it on there, slap it in there, just start fucking whamming it with your screwdriver. After you do that, you go and get the actual warhead itself, which is on the bottom right side, and then, or actually top left side. Actually, you're going to grab the receiver instead, which is on the bottom right side, start slamming it in there, hitting it with your screwdriver. Then top left, you're going to want to actually grab the actual warhead itself and start hitting it in there. Now, there is a small warning. This area is hell. There is 30 proles and 5 police officers just waiting for one of you to fuck up so they can shoot you in the head. Now, this area is going to be crowded. You do not want to hit a teammate, as if you hit a teammate, you will be up for limitation, which means you will be shot in the head the second that you are up for limitation. So please, watch the screwdrivers and don't hit another prole unless you want to die. Now, with this, there's also a second warning. A lot of people like saying, "Oh no, it's fine, it won't blow up, nothing's gonna happen." It will blow up. And you will die by doing this, and you will kill everyone else around you, and you will be bleeding out on the floor because you decided not to fucking listen to me for the 8 billionth time when I tell you, stop hitting the warhead when it's done. If it doesn't show a percentage, stop hitting that. Stop hitting the warhead. It's gonna blow up. And you are going to kill everyone else around you, and everyone will make fun of you and bully you for being a fucking troglodyte. Please, for the love of God, stop hitting the bomb. Now, the second class is a sort of twofer. This class starts out as the dealer. The dealer is a pretty interesting class that I haven't really sunk my teeth into, mostly just because this class is incredibly confusing, and I had enough amnesite to become a banker, and it's basically just the better version of this class anyways. So, the dealer, your whole job is to basically make a shitload of money by doing the same job that proles can, and also on top of that, selling shit to anybody else. So, the distillery is probably the best option for you, as you can sell out cigarettes, and you can also sell out the alcohol that you make at said distillery. So, with this, you're going to want to find a shop. A shop you can typically spend money on to get a lease by the actual Aneurism for itself, and you can also, as I said earlier, buy an apartment. Apartments kind of don't have any real use. I believe they have a locker inside, and they also just allow for a nice little roleplay environment if you're into that sort of thing. I personally have never actually gone into an apartment because I've never had enough money to actually lease out an apartment, but I'm pretty sure it's an actually swanky little area. Just because you're actually able to buy an apartment in this game, I don't think they're going to be fucking with you that much. So, anyways, after you earn all this money, you're going to want to open a shop, and then after you open a shop, you'll be able to buy goods with the little terminal in the background, and then after you buy goods, you're going to want to go to the drop-off point, grab all the shit from the drop-off point, and place it into your shop. You don't need to be at your shop itself to man it, as your shop itself will basically just be raking in money as people walk in. It is best to choose to go there, as you can basically just watch your transactions to make sure everything is going smoothly so that way you don't have to deal with any bullshit. Now, the second part of this is the banker. The banker has basically the same job as the dealer, however, they have an add-on to this, which is to bank with people. Now, when you bank with people, it is sort of a disconnected service. What I mean by that is that by banking with somebody, you can bank with other bankers as well. It doesn't just necessarily have to be the same banker that you banked with. So don't worry about losing money that way. However, the way that you will lose money by talking to bankers is that if they up their percentage, that means that you are going to lose that amount of money that you give them. So say you have a 5% percentage and you have $500 that you're trying to give them, you're going to lose out on 5% of that profit and give that to them, which is fine because that's basically just a very normal percentage. I personally go for 2% because I'm a pussy person pleaser. Anyways, with that, I typically choose about a 2% because I'm a pussy person pleaser because, Anyways, after you do that, typically people will just be like, all right, well, fuck it, I guess I'll just pay the 2%. People can also point their gun at your head and say, put it to 0% or I will fucking murder you. And you're just gonna have to either listen to them, or you can do what a lot of people have done and be the worst person possible. And by this, I mean, if you get every banker in the server to replicate your percentage by going up to 20% and taking up 20% of everyone's funds, you can make a banker clan, and everyone has to bank with somebody who has 20%. So it's either lose out on 20% of money or lose out on all of your money every time you die. Now, these are assholes, and you don't want to deal with them. So instead, you should revolt and kill every banker you see to show them that we don't want these prices. Anyways, that's the banker and the dealer. Now, the next job is the cleaner, and my personal favorite, as I basically just get to walk around, fix shit, and burn shit, which, it's fun. Anyways, your whole job basically is to run around Aneurism 4 and, clean. Make sure everything's up and tidy, without the whole, trash everywhere, bullshit everywhere. Also the cancer tumors that appear out of nowhere, which is actually where you're supposed to go and burn them. Using your flamethrower, you'll burn out all of the cancer tumors that you see appear variously around this area. After you burn them out, you'll earn some amnesite and some money by doing so. You'll also want to make sure that everything around you is kept in tip-top shape. If you start hearing static and fizzing, and you start seeing things breaking down, that's likely a scum, which we'll talk about later. However, with this, you're just going to want to fix it with your wrench. You're going to want to drop that toolbox onto the floor and start whacking it with your wrench, and you'll fix up everything nicely. After you've done that, your whole job basically is just to wander around. If a cop tells you to come clean something, or if a prole tells you that there's some shit to clean, just go clean it up and make sure everything's okay. However, there is one special thing. Whenever you hear that a neurostabilizer has gone offline, you and every cleaner in a 1 million mile radius should immediately go to the first neurostabilizer that's broken and start hitting it with your wrench, as that is the only thing keeping the server alive. And yes, I truly do mean server. If all of these go down, the server will reset and you will lose everything, including all of your banked money. So, keeping the server alive and well is your entire job. And it should be your first priority is fixing up those fucking neurostabilizers, because many a time have I talked to a cleaner and he's just like, no, I don't want to do that. That is your job. And unless you want all of your shit gone, you better fucking work on that. Now, we're going to talk about the scum, and the first scum that we're going to be talking about is the scum bag. This is the first one that people typically start out with, as they're the cheapest and also the most affluential within this sort of city. The scum are anarchists, and they want everything to burn, and it kind of makes sense given how shitty this city is. Now, your job as a scum and also a scum bag is to kill, murder, and break everything. Your whole job, basically, is to reset the server by destroying those neurostabilizer cores, as I was talking about earlier. Now, the only way to do this is by making rot bombs, and the only way to make rot bombs is with incredibly rare materials. If you get a man on the inside, say a cop, you can get them to give you stolen warheads, after the wartime starts, and then you basically just get a prole or a cop or somebody, pay them, and they'll probably bring you a warhead for free. Now, with that, there's also some other choices that you can make, since a lot of the time you won't really be able to do anything. You can also just wait until the server is basically dead, go get a bunch of warheads, and then just run back downstairs and just leave with all that. Now, your other job is to break shit. You're going to want to run around, break cameras, kill people. Your other job also, which is, you know, one of the many jobs that you have, is to make slaves. Now, this might sound insane. However, if you talk to a prole and you're able to manipulate them into killing another prole, they will lose amnesite. And by losing amnesite, if they go into the negatives, they will actually run out of amnesite, and the next time that they die, they will become a slave. This slave can't see anything, is forced to push boulders down a hill for more amnesite. However, there is a plus to being a slave. This slave can be turned into a rot bag, or whatever the name for it is. People choose rot bag, coffin face, puker, vomiter, a lot of different names from this guy, and as I'm sure you can tell by some of his names, his whole job is basically to run around and kill people. He has the highest base health next to the limiter, and they have a shit ton of fucking health. I believe around 8,000, and the limiter has 2,000, so they have a fuck ton of health. And they basically just run around and ask people to worship them, and then if they choose not to worship them, then they get vaporized by vomit and bile and bile. You can also have multiple of these as well, as I have gotten into a server where there were 3 running around and wreaking absolute havoc. There is no admins in this game, by the way, so you can just do whatever the fuck you want. You likely will be banned from anti-cheat if you actually decide to cheat, but if you just do this in a you know, a legal way, you know, you're fine. Now, this next scum is called the Zealot. You can become a Zealot while being a scumbag by going down to the ritual area, I believe, with enough amnesite. Also, other Zealots can turn you into a Zealot if they get enough flesh, bodies, and other shit that turns you into a Zealot. Once they get enough, they will be able to transform any scumbag into a Zealot, no matter who it is, and I believe also other proles. I might be wrong on this, so correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I don't think I'm wrong on this since I've seen it happen before, but there might just been a glitch or something, or it might have just been that I'm having a fugue dream. Anyways, Zealots have basically the exact same abilities as a scum, and also the exact same mission as a scumbag. However, they have one extra thing. If they get enough people, bodies, and also meat, they are able to start chants, as I like to call them. However, they have a different name. I just don't really remember it. Now, these chants are able to do multiple different things. I believe there is 4. However, the main one that I know of is Anarchy. When Anarchy starts, everything goes to shit. Everyone is up for limitation. Everyone is up to die. If you are on Anarchy, you are going to die. 1,000,000%. Unless you and a bunch of proles get together with clubs, you're gonna die. Because cops are assholes, and they will shoot you since everyone is up for limitation. Now, with this, there is a sort of thing where everybody's nice to each other. However, that rarely sticks for long, as someone does some fuck shit, attacks a cop, gets shot, and then it just goes right downhill into everybody fighting each other, killing each other, and then everything falls to shit. Anyways, that's the Zealot, an amazing class. Now, this third class, is another class which can be turned into by turning into another class by being another class. This class, specifically, is the Mad Doctor, which you can turn into by being a medic, going down into the depths, and then turning into a Mad Medic over near the subway station metro area for around 5 amnesite. Now, by doing this, you're able to change your ways of becoming a Mad Doctor, allowed to kill people, and also you're allowed to make the medication which makes said coffin face from earlier. It does take quite a bit to actually make it, and also will take a lot of rare materials, much like the rot bombs, as they are incredibly powerful. Your main job basically is the same as the medic, except without making all the shit for the city, and instead making all of that for the people downstairs. The Mad Doctor's job is basically the same as before. It's pretty easy to explain. You don't really need a lot, it's just a lot more healing now. Now, there is a final option for the scumbags, and that is the corrupted officer. Now, any police officer, I believe, or at least the very beginning forms of a police officer, are able to become corrupted officers by just going straight downstairs with enough andesite and then interacting with the corrupted version of the officer, and then they basically are able to snoop on comms and then also have the same job as every other scum. Basically, if you become a scumbag adjacent, you have the entire job of the scumbag, except you have an add-on, which for the Mad Doctor is healing, and for the corrupted officer is basically able to listen on comms from police officers as you keep your radio. This is a pretty good one, as you can make sure that nobody else is, watching you, making sure it's time to kill you, or starting an ambush. However, it will eventually be found out, and they will stop using comms and will rather use their own voice, which can still be listened in on if you have a prole who's nice enough. Now, this next class is the main sort of law and order in this city, which I lovingly call the Cortex Cucks. However, they are just called the Cortex Police Officers, the whole kit and caboodle. The police officer's job, at least this main one here, is to sort of wander around the city and patrol. Your whole job is to basically talk to those small little blue areas and the little, crevices and everything. Talk to them, they'll give you a patrol route, and then you just go around and make sure you patrol, and that's how you earn amnesite. You also earn amnesite from killing limited, which are the people who need to be shot. You'll see a giant big thing on their body that just says, limitate, kill. And then after you do that, you'll earn some money. However, I would recommend some slight caution, as sometimes those people can have guns on them. You also are allowed to search for contraband on people, and then as soon as they say limitate either, one, talk to them. That's what I like to do. I like to have a sort of spat with this person before I decide to shoot them. Like a nice person would do. Anyways, your other job is to look around for cameras and see what cameras are seeing danger. As the second that they see danger, they will go out on a siren and start telling all the police officers to meet there with a giant little warning sign. You'll also be able to tell the camera that everything's fine. However, most of the time it will be broken, and then you have to make sure that there are no scumbags in the area and then kill said scumbags. Most of the time they'll have a knife. However, sometimes they will have a rifle and they will dome you in the head. Now, this next class is called the Sanitar, and the Sanitar are an upgrade of the Cleaner, as they can change from a Cleaner going in and turning into a Sanitar right in the very large top area you see, which if you walk inside, you will be shot and killed. However, if you have enough andesite, you can turn into a Sanitar. Also, another thing, if it is wartime, a limiter and a police officer can turn you into a deputized Sanitar, which is literally the exact same thing. It's just easier to do without spending any andesite. Sanitars basically have two jobs. They have the same job as a police officer, which is to patrol around, and then they also have the job of the original Cleaner, which is basically to walk around and clean shit and fix shit. However, they also start with a large toolbox instead of small toolboxes. So it's a lot easier to fix shit with this large toolbox. So I would say personally stay as a Cleaner, as it gives you a lot more freedom, but if you absolutely want to be a cop, then you can be a Sanitar, all means. Now, this next class is something I personally haven't been able to play with, as it is the most expensive class in the game. I believe it used to be 50, but I think now it's been lowered down to 17. I might be wrong on that though, since I'm kind of gaining that from what people have said. Now, this Limitator, I really don't know a lot about it, since I really can't see much aside from the fact that they have a giant RPD Tommy gun that they fire at people whenever they don't like you, which has a shit ton of ammunition, by the way. So, with this, I'm guessing they have the same sort of abilities as the cops, where they go around and they patrol, except they have just a shit ton more health, so they're more meant for a front line. Now, this is basically all I have on them. If anybody knows more in the comments about these limitators, since I personally haven't even been able to actually get into the game as a limitator, as most of the time the server will reset before I have enough amnesite, or I'll be shot and killed and then forced to be turned into a slave before I have enough amnesite. So, now, this next part is going to be more so explaining the mechanics of the game rather than the actual classes of the game. Now, this first mechanic we're going to talk about is the little bars that appear, as it's likely the first thing you're going to see happen the second you start moving around in this city. Now, The first one you're going to see is air. This is just your stamina. Very normal thing. It's just to lose it when you run, you know, pretty normal. Your second bar that you'll likely start seeing after you start working is sense. Most people really don't know what this is, but it's literally just showing you how many amnesite points you need until your next amnesite. It's basically a nothing burger. Now, these next ones are the stuff that you're actually going to need to be looking at whenever you're walking around the city. Water, hunger, and sanity. Sanity is one of the more important ones. Obviously, hunger and water are the most important, as that if you don't have a lot of it, you will die. So, with this, you're going to want to go to the sanity and then look it down and see the little purple bar, and if it's any lower than half, you're going to want to immediately start looking for sanity medication, or you're going to want to start looking for a nightclub. This nightclub basically just regains sanity for free if you walk inside and start hanging out in it for a little while. It's basically pretty OP if you know where it is. And by the way, it's over by wartime. If you go in that big brick tunnel, take a left, keep going down that hallway, and the second you see a left, take that left, it'll be in that little area over there. Don't tell anybody I told you. Anyways, that's basically where you're going to want to go. You can also just use alcohol and glue and cigarettes and basically just gain an addiction that lowers your sanity as well. Now, this next part is the hunger and water. Hunger and water obviously get changed up depending on what you're eating and what you're drinking. If you're drinking straight fucking pool water, you're going to gain parasites, which, as I said before, by using antiparasitics, you can actually become immune to this and instead just be able to drink water freely. So, this next part actually brings us more into another mechanic of the game, the ration cycle. The ration cycle happens, I believe, every 30 minutes. I might be wrong on that, though, again. So, with this ration cycle, you are going to want to, the second you hear ration cycle active, you're going to want to sprint, full send sprint to the nearest civil center to earn your ration. Now, the ration is probably the kindest you are ever going to see people, as the second anyone steps out of line, they get fucking torn in half. Now, you just want to get nicely in line, talk to the robot, he'll give you a free ration, eat it the second that you see it, and all is good. However, if you decide to steal from another person, or God forbid, eat another person's rations, the entire server will clamber on you like fucking feral animals, and they will rip you to shreds without a single thought. If there's a police officer there and he sees you, single shot to the dome, you're dead. It's gone. You're done. The rations are sacred. Please, please, please remember that. Now, the next mechanic is the pay cycle. The pay cycle, I believe, happens every single hour, and it's basically just a sum of every job you did that day / hour. And also, by the way, all real time. There isn't any real daytime. You'll just see in the little bottom right corner, 1339. It's all military time, but it is the actual time on your computer. So, you know, if you have something to do that day, you just want to walk to a new area, see what time it is, be like, oh shit, I gotta leave home. Anyways, pay cycle. So, it happens every hour. You go to the pay cycle machine, which 9 times out of 10 is broken by some shithead scumbag, and then afterwards you'll talk to it, see how much you need, and then you'll also have to pay taxes. Taxes are a bit of a weird thing, as they aren't necessarily taken out of your paycheck. Instead, you actually have to pay and deposit taxes. Now, there is a tax limit specifically, so if you make about $1,000, the limit to what is taxable is $100, as far as I'm aware, just from that point. So, with that, you just want to pay your taxes, and you'll be A-okay, and you'll have $1,000 you can give to that banker, and he'll probably ask for 50% of that money anyways, because he's a fucking asshole, which you should then pull out a gun and shoot him, and then talk to another banker. Anyways, that's the pay cycle. Anyways, that's basically just the end of the video. Aneurism 4 is a game that is sort of really hard to shill, especially if you're like me and kind of dumb. Most of it comes from just seeing clips of the game and seeing funny shit happen. You're like, I want to do some shit like that. I mean, it basically is just like gmod dark RP. I mean, I stopped playing, I never even played fucking gmod role-playing games until very, like literally 2 days ago while I was recording for this video. I started playing some fucking SCP RP thing, and I have been hooked. That's why this video has been taking so long to get out. I was waiting for the Aneurism 4 update to come out. This new update is basically a whole new map that will have, so they have two different servers, Misery, and then they'll just have Aneurism. Misery is a much more condensed and like focused map, more so than Aneurism, which is a lot more open. However, it is very mazy, but that might just be an issue with it being a completely new map. Nothing is the same. Obviously, they have the metalworks and everything and all that. I kind of wish they changed the thing for the metalworks, because that just giant slab of metal that heats up, I kind of wish there was more to that. But if you're wondering why I look different, the new model that I had that I was recording with this video, it's entirely possible that I could get sued for using it. So being a broke community college student, I'd rather not have that happen. And not wanting to re-record anything because I'm a lazy fuck, I'm just going to choose to use this from now on. We'll eventually have an update to this. It's basically just going to change up a few things and make it look a lot better. But anyways, that's the video. If you came from TikTok or another thing, I'm going to be starting up streaming, hopefully in a couple weeks again, when I actually start working on the model, because the person I was working with for Lies of P, they haven't gotten back to me, so I'm just going to get started on Resident Evil, hopefully finish that in like a week or two, get the stream and everything started up. So hopefully, if everything goes correctly, we'll get that started up, and then the next video will be on Darktide, basically just explaining the classes and all that. So anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time on the fucking Darktide video.